The first-class priority lane hummed with low conversation until a sharp, slicing voice cut through it like metal on bone. Oh, absolutely not. The lead flight attendant, Vanessa Lorne, 38, sharp-boned, pale-skinned, dripping with the smug confidence of someone who had never been told no, marched straight toward the couple standing in the first-class queue. Her blonde bun was pulled so tight it made her eyebrows look permanently raised in judgment. She stopped in front of Maya Ellis, 32, tall, dark-skinned, athletic build, quiet eyes that had spent years studying human behavior. Beside him was his wife Maya, 29, warm brown skin, soft curls pinned back, a sharp intelligence behind her gentle expression. They looked like any loving young black couple traveling on a special trip. Vanessa looked at them as if they were stains she'd discovered on her designer handbag. "Well," she said, letting an exaggerated laugh explode from her chest, "this should be interesting." People in line turned. Some smirked, some looked away, some pretended they didn't hear. Vanessa wasn't done. "What happened? Did the computer glitch and hand out first-class boarding passes like Halloween candy?" She tilted her head. "Or did you two, I don't know, pick these up off the floor?" Maya's fingers tightened around Jordan's arm. Jordan kept his voice calm. "We purchased these. Full fare." Vanessa blinked slowly, dramatically. "Oh, sweetie." "Purchased?" She tapped her cheek, feigning pity. "I'm sure you believe that. But this lane is for premium passengers, people who belong here." Her emphasis snapped like a whip. A man in a suit snickered behind them. A woman whispered, "Why don't they just follow the rules?" Vanessa leaned closer to Jordan, lowering her voice just enough for plausible deniability, but loud enough for the crowd to hear. "Look, it's obvious you're not the usual type we see up here. So before this becomes embarrassing for everyone, let's fix it. Step out of the line, hand me the boarding passes, and I'll get you to, you know," she gestured vaguely toward economy, "where people like you are normally seated." Maya inhaled sharply. Jordan's jaw flexed. He placed both boarding passes in her hand without breaking eye contact. "Scan them." Vanessa rolled her eyes. "Sure, let's finish this little fantasy." She scanned the codes. "Beep approved first class, row 2. Her smirk cracked for half a second, but she slapped it back into place. "Well, isn't this adorable?" Vanessa called out, theatrically turning to the line. "Looks like someone saved up their reward points." Her words dripped with mockery. She thrust the passes back at them. "But, unfortunately," she said loudly, "I still can't let you board up here. Not until security verifies your identities." She raised her voice for the agents at the podium. I've got 2 questionable credentials over here." Gasps, whispers. Phone cameras lifted. Maya whispered, trembling, "Jordan, this is wrong." Jordan looked at her, his voice steady despite the fire beneath it. "We stand in truth, Maya, not in fear." And in that moment, the first verse slipped into his mind, steadying his heartbeat. "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, for the Lord your God goes with you." Deuteronomy 31:6. Courage wasn't loud. Courage was the breath you took before choosing dignity over anger. Vanessa scoffed. "Oh, please, spare me the dramatic eye contact. If you want to play important, go do it somewhere else." A gate agent approached respectfully. "Ma'am, their IDs match their tickets." Vanessa's expression darkened. "And I'm telling you, their demeanor doesn't match our first-class profile. They're acting—" She paused, smirking as she chose a coded word dripping with centuries of poison. "Agitated." Jordan had not raised his voice. Maya had said nothing but a whisper, but suddenly passengers murmured, "Agitated." Were they threatening? "Maybe she's right." Vanessa crossed her arms. "They'll board when I say, not before." Jordan exhaled slowly. "What exactly have we done wrong?" "You?" Vanessa scoffed. "Existing in the wrong part of the airport with an attitude you think we have to respect." A security officer approached. Not violent, not loud, just present, because Vanessa had called them. "Sir, ma'am," the officer said carefully, "let's step to the side." People stared, filmed, judged. Humiliation, slow, public, searing, wrapped around them like smoke. Jordan took Maya's hand and allowed the officer to lead them away. Vanessa called after them with a voice sugary enough to rot bone. "Next time, try flying somewhere you actually fit in." Laughter behind them. A few gasps. No one defended them. As the officer guided them toward a secondary area, Jordan whispered, "We will not break. Not today. Not ever." Maya nodded through gathering tears. They had come on this flight as travelers. They would leave as something very different. If you have ever been judged before you even opened your mouth, then what happens next with Jordan and Maya will make your heart burn with both anger and hope. Don't forget to like and subscribe and stay with Dignity Voices to follow how this unfolds. What happens when the airline that humiliated them decides to rewrite the entire incident and pin the blame on them? The small glass-walled secondary screening room smelled like disinfectant and stale coffee, an in-between space where dignity came to suffocate quietly. Jordan and Maya sat on opposite metal chairs, hands intertwined, while the security officer reviewed their IDs for the third time. He wasn't hostile, just weary, a man doing his job while knowing something ugly was happening beyond his pay grade. "I'm not seeing any issues here," he muttered. "Your tickets are valid. No flags, no complaints logged from your names prior to today." Jordan nodded calmly. "Because there are no issues." The officer hesitated. "Look, I'm not saying I agree with what's going on, but when a lead attendant reports a behavioral irregularity—" Maya closed her eyes. "She created the irregularity." The officer sighed. "I'm sorry, I really am. Let me talk to them." He stepped out. The moment the door closed, Maya inhaled sharply, wiping her eyes. "Jordan, why is this happening again? Why does someone like her get to rewrite reality because it makes her feel powerful?" Jordan pulled her gently into his arms. "Because some people carry their fear like a badge, and they mistake authority for character." She leaned against him, but her voice trembled. "I don't want to lose myself to this." "You won't," he whispered. "I'm here. We fight it together." Footsteps approached. The door opened. This time it wasn't the security officer. It was Vanessa Lorne, flanked by her supervisor, a thick-necked man in his 40s named Chadwick Rowe, whose stiff posture screamed, "I love enforcing rules I barely understand." Both wore the smug expression of people who expected compliance. Well, still here," Vanessa said, hands on hips. "I thought you two might have run out of excuses by now." Jordan stood. Maya stood with him. Chadwick cleared his throat in a slow, disappointed huff. "Mr. and Mrs. Ellis, we've reviewed the incident. Our crew felt you posed a potential disruption to the boarding process. You were described as uncooperative, tense, and verbally aggressive." Maya blinked hard. "That's a lie." Chadwick shrugged, already writing something on his clipboard. "I trust my team." Jordan's voice remained steady, a calm blade. "Review the security footage. You'll see we complied with everything." Vanessa laughed. "Oh, honey, cameras don't capture tone. And your tone? Very threatening, very confrontational." Her emphasis was razor-thin but sharp enough to draw blood. Maya's chest trembled with restrained fury. "We didn't raise our voices. We didn't move aggressively. We didn't—" "You didn't behave like first-class passengers," Vanessa interrupted. "And that's enough." Jordan stepped forward, jaw tight. "We purchased first-class seats. You had no right to reassign us." "That's the thing," Vanessa said sweetly. "I don't need a reason. Safety is subjective." She leaned in conspiratorially. "And you made me feel unsafe." A cold, vicious silence settled around them. Maya choked out, "We did nothing wrong." Vanessa shrugged. "Then you should have acted like it." Chadwick clapped his hands together. All right, here's what we're offering. He held out 2 new boarding passes. Rebooked on the next flight. Economy, last row, no upgrades, and you'll need to board last per protocol since you've been flagged. Jordan stared at the passes, but did not take them. Flagged? He asked quietly. Chadwick nodded. Yes, for behavioral non-compliance. Vanessa added, Congratulations, you're officially on our internal watch list. Not banned, but monitored. You know, just in case. Maya felt her knees weaken. This is cruel. This is dishonest. This is, oh, sweetheart, Vanessa crooned. Cruel is letting people like you walk into first class like you own it. Even Chadwick shifted uncomfortably. Jordan's voice lowered to a controlled, trembling calm. You're rewriting this entire situation. Oh, absolutely, Vanessa scoffed. Because we control the paperwork, and paperwork beats your little feelings. She snapped her fingers at the security officer who just returned. Escort them back to the main concourse. They're done here. The officer looked ashamed but nodded. This way. The walk back through the terminal felt like an execution procession. People stared, some whispered, others pointed at the couple holding their belongings like contraband. Vanessa made sure to walk behind them, loud, performative sighs punctuating every step. Unbelievable, she said loudly, ensuring an audience. The entitlement. First class is for premium travelers, not whoever feels like strolling in. Jordan clenched his fist, not in anger, but in restraint. Maya looked up at him. What now? He whispered. We hold our ground. We do not let them define us. But inside, a storm raged. Humiliation, injustice. A familiar wound reopened. As they reached the concourse, Chadwick made a show of handing them their downgraded tickets. This is the best we can do. Take it or leave it. Jordan didn't touch them. Maya lifted her chin. We'll leave it. Vanessa snorted. Right, because you've got options. Jordan turned to her with a stare so steady it made even Vanessa's smirk falter. You have no idea what options we have. For the first time, Vanessa looked unsure. Just a flicker, just a crack. But Jordan saw it, and he held on to it. The couple walked away, leaving the economy rebooking passes untouched. Vanessa whispered behind them, Good luck flying on anything better than a bus after this. Jordan didn't turn around. He didn't need to. Because now, beneath the humiliation, something else kindled inside him. A quiet, rising fire. The hotel room was quiet except for the low hum of the air conditioner and the muffled sounds of aircraft departing outside, the same planes Jordan and Maya should have been on hours ago. Instead, they sat on the edge of a firm beige mattress, shoes still on, bags unopened, their spirits somewhere between shock and a rising, simmering courage. Maya stared at the carpet, tracing the geometric patterns with her eyes. It's like she wanted to break us, she whispered. Not just block us, break us. Jordan sat beside her, elbows on his knees, hands steepled under his chin. She did something worse, he said quietly. She tried to rewrite who we are. Maya swallowed. And people believed her. Jordan nodded. That's the part I can't shake. There was a long silence, not cold, not empty, just heavy. Finally, Maya turned to him. Do we report it? File an official complaint like regular passengers? Jordan exhaled slowly, then stood and walked to his suitcase. He unzipped a hidden compartment. Inside was a slim, matte black case with no logo, no markings, just a biometric lock. Maya stared at it, her chest tightening. We're doing this now? Jordan touched his thumb to the reader. The case clicked open. Inside were 2 credentials, 2 badges, and 2 encrypted tablets. The identities the airline never imagined, the truth they never saw coming. Jordan held up his badge. Federal Aviation Administration, Office of Safety, Accountability, and Compliance. Senior Inspector, Jordan A. Ellis. Maya retrieved her own, FAA Regulatory Data and Bias Auditing Division, Field Analyst, Maya Ellis. She let out a breath that felt like a release of every insult Vanessa had thrown at them. What she didn't know, Jordan said softly, is that she targeted the very people who audit her airline's integrity. Maya sat straighter, the sting of the day sharpening into purpose. Then our duty starts right here. Jordan powered on his tablet, its encrypted interface glowing to life. Maya did the same. Instantly, the system registered the earlier flight's logs, flagged, incomplete, and suspicious. Look, Jordan scrolled. The crew filed the report already. They wrote that we were verbally aggressive, raising voices, and that we refused multiple directives. They even added that you ignored safety instructions. Maya's jaw dropped. I literally stood still and spoke less than 10 sentences. They know, Jordan murmured. They know written records beat truth if no one challenges them. He tapped another section. An alert popped up. Crew account locked pending supervisor authorization. Incident report flagged as security sensitive. Maya frowned. Security sensitive? They're hiding behind the federal keyword. Jordan's voice darkened. They're building a wall before anyone asks what's behind it. Maya closed her tablet slowly. Then she leaned back, eyes lifting to the hotel ceiling. Her voice trembled as she spoke, not from fear, but from conviction gathering strength. Let us run with endurance the race set before us. Hebrews 12:1. Jordan looked at her, something shifting in his chest. That's the verse? He asked softly. She nodded. Yes. Because today wasn't the battle. Today was the starting line. Jordan reached for her hand, and for the first time since the humiliation began, Maya felt her lungs expand fully. The couple set up their workspace on the small hotel desk. Laptop open, tablet syncing, USB security keys plugged in. Two professionals awakening to their real roles. Jordan clicked into the FAA's restricted access portal. Step 1, he said. We request all in-cabin camera footage from boarding through deplaning. Step 2, Maya added. We pull the crew's personnel file, especially previous complaints. Step 3, Jordan continued, voice sharpening. We examine every past incident Vanessa Lorne filed using the same coded language she used on us. Maya typed rapidly. And step 4, we require the airline to submit their updated log because once they know who we are, they'll try to revise it. Jordan nodded. They'll scramble. They'll panic. And panic leaves fingerprints, Maya finished. A notification chimed on Jordan's screen. Incoming message, FAA internal. Deputy Director Alvarez Jordan opened it. Alvarez's stern face appeared via live call. Ellis, Alvarez said by way of greeting, I just received a flagged event involving you and your wife. Is this going to be a conflict of interest? Jordan answered without flinching. Not if the truth is our interest, Alvarez grunted. Explain. Jordan gave a measured summary. The humiliation, the reassigning of seats, the false incident report, the security escort. Alvarez's eyes narrowed. Was the crew hostile because they recognized your positions? No, Maya answered firmly. They were hostile because they thought we were nobodies. The line went silent. Then Alvarez said, Proceed. Full scope. You have my authorization. And Ellis. Don't hold back. The call ended. Maya leaned back, pulse steady, fingers poised above her keyboard. This is bigger than what happened to us, she whispered. Jordan agreed. It always was. The airline security department uploaded the requested video file faster than expected, likely unaware of who had requested it. Jordan clicked play. There, in cruel clarity, appeared scene 1 replayed. Vanessa marching toward them, her mocking smile, her exaggerated voices, her coded language, her orchestrated humiliation. But here, the truth had timestamps, angles.audio.context, No raised voices, no refusal to comply, no aggressive body language, nothing Vanessa wrote in her report. Maya closed her eyes. She lied about everything. No, Jordan corrected gently. She counted on people believing her without proof. That's different. That's deliberate. They watched until the moment security escorted them away. Jordan paused the footage. This is enough to unravel her entire foundation, he whispered. Maya's voice softened. And it's just the beginning. Jordan looked at her. Are you ready for what's next? She nodded. With endurance, she said. We run. If you've ever wished you could peel back the curtain and expose those who abuse power, then what Jordan and Maya uncover next will shake you. Don't forget to like and subscribe and stay with Dignity Voices, because the investigation is only beginning. What happens when Jordan and Maya discover this wasn't an isolated incident, but the latest link in a chain of discriminatory patterns the airline has quietly buried? The next morning arrived muted and gray, the kind of sky that made airports feel even more like pressure cookers. Jordan and Maya walked through the terminal, not as passengers, not as the humiliated couple from yesterday, but as investigators slipping into the heart of the machine. Maya carried a crossbody laptop bag. Jordan held a plain black folder. They looked like any traveling professionals. No one suspected they were about to peel back layers the airline had spent years burying. They headed to a quiet corner of the terminal where the airline's operations office occupied a glass-walled unit overlooking the runways. The sign read, Customer Safety and Crew Operations. Authorized personnel only. Jordan scanned his badge. The door clicked open. Inside, the office buzzed softly. Phones ringing, keyboards clacking, managers whispering over coffee. A few employees looked up, then immediately pretended not to stare. The silence that followed Jordan and Maya down the hall felt weighted, almost nervous. At a conference room near the back, Jordan shut the door behind them. Maya set her laptop down and opened an encrypted portal. First, she said, let's see how deep Vanessa's pattern goes. Jordan typed a command. A folder opened. Incident reports. Crew ID Lorne, V. Dozens of files appeared. Maya's heart stopped. Jordan, look at the dates. Look at the frequency. He clicked open the most recent one before theirs. A black woman in seat 3A accused of suspicious demeanor. A Latino teenager questioned repeatedly for nervous eyes. A Middle Eastern passenger singled out for agitated discussion, even though the footage attached showed him speaking calmly to a flight attendant about lactose-free meals. One by one, the incidents aligned into a chilling pattern. Maya whispered, She's been using the same coded notes for years. Jordan nodded grimly. Non-compliant. Unstable energy. Tone escalation. Security risk indicators. He paused. These are linguistic red flags, subtle enough to avoid legal scrutiny, harmful enough to destroy someone's travel record. Maya typed, pulling up statistical overlays. Jordan, these incident types are disproportionately filed against passengers of color. Look at the racial distribution graph. Jordan leaned closer. Red bars for white passengers, low, blue bars for all others, painfully high. That's not coincidence, he said. That's targeting. She clicked on another file. Crew chat log. Internal comms. Jordan's brows pinched. This requires manager-level clearance. Why is it so accessible? Maya opened it before the question could answer itself. What they saw made both of them go still. Vanessa Lorne. Got another special case in first-class line today. You know the type. Crew member number 2. Ugh. Were they one of your tone people? Vanessa Lorne. Yup. Loud eyes. The usual vibe. Crew member number 3. Loud eyes? Vanessa Lorne. I swear some folks think flashing a premium ticket makes them premium. Maya stared. Loud eyes. What is that even? Jordan answered softly. It's a dog whistle. A code. Like seems agitated or unusual attitude. It creates a justification no camera can disprove. More messages followed. Vanessa Lorne. If they make it to the cabin, I'm flagging. Safety before feelings. Crew member number 2. Corporate will back you. They always do. Vanessa Lorne. Exactly. First class is a vibe. Some folks just don't match it. Maya closed the folder as if the words themselves were poison. Jordan. How many passengers have been quietly profiled, removed, or downgraded over the years because of this woman? Jordan sat back, rubbing his forehead. Enough to make this systemic. They exchanged a look, heavy, resolved. Let's bring in the interviews, Jordan said. Her name was Elena Park, 22, petite, nervous, wearing a trainee badge, and clutching a tablet like a life jacket. When she walked into the conference room, she looked around as if Vanessa might leap from behind a chair. Jordan stood and gestured gently. Have a seat, Miss Park. You're safe here. She sat, hands trembling. Maya flashed a warm, reassuring smile. We aren't here to punish anyone trying to do their job. We want to understand the culture you've been working in. Elena exhaled shakily. I shouldn't be here. They told us never to speak to inspectors without management present. Jordan leaned forward. Did management tell you what happened to us yesterday? She nodded slowly. They said you two were being difficult. Maya's voice softened. Did you see any difficulty? Elena bit her lip, a long, terrified pause. Then she whispered, barely audible. No. Her eyes welled. You were calm. You were polite. Vanessa was... She was cruel. Jordan didn't interrupt. Elena swallowed hard. I've seen her do this before. She says certain people don't belong. When she sees someone she doesn't like in first class, she finds a reason, any reason, to move them. She says it's about safety, but it's really about... She hesitated. Maya finished softly. About who looks like they fit the stereotype of wealth. Elena nodded, relieved someone else said it. She lowered her voice. And if any of us question it, she threatens our hours. Or she tells management, we're not aligned with safety priorities. I can't afford to lose this job. Jordan exchanged a glance with Maya. Fear weaponized, silence manufactured, power twisted into a leash. Thank you, Jordan said. Your honesty matters. Elena stood to leave, but paused at the door. Please, fix this. She hurts people. She makes us all feel dirty. When she left, the silence inside the room was suffocating. Jordan finally spoke. His voice was low, steady, and filled with something new. Not just anger, not just duty, conviction. This isn't a crew problem, he said. This is a culture problem, a system problem. Maya nodded. We take this to the next level. Jordan closed the laptop slowly. Tonight we draft the preliminary report. Tomorrow we confront the regional manager. A beat of silence. And then, Maya asked. Jordan's answer came without hesitation. Then we bring the truth to the surface, whether they want it or not. Morning light spilled across the regional headquarters like a spotlight on a stage, bright enough to reveal truth, harsh enough to expose those who hid from it. Jordan and Maya walked through the glass doors of Skyreach Airline's Regional Operations Center. Badges visible, expressions calm but sharpened with purpose. This wasn't the terminal. This wasn't the training office. This was the lion's den. And they came prepared. A receptionist guided them to a conference room already occupied by the man whose signature appeared on dozens of crew evaluations and behavioral logs. Regional Manager Brent Carradine, late 50s, graying temples, expensive suit, and the smooth, polished voice of someone used to dodging accountability with a smile. He didn't stand when they entered. Instead, he looked them over with a faint smirk. Mr. Ellis, Mrs. Ellis, or should I say, Inspectors Ellis. He folded his hands. Quite a surprise. Jordan didn't sit. Mr. Carradine, we requested this meeting to discuss falsified incident reports, profiling patterns, and the crew culture under your supervision. Carradine chuckled, soft, condescending. Profiling? I'm sure you're misreading things. My team prioritizes safety, not optics. Maya opened a folder. Neatly tabbed, meticulously organized. Safety isn't the issue. Patterned targeting is, and the data shows it clearly. She slid several printed charts across the table. Carradine didn't glance at them. Jordan remained standing. Multiple crew logs from Vanessa Lorne contain coded language used disproportionately against passengers of color. Our analysis indicates a statistically significant pattern of discrimination. Carradine's smile tightened. Barely. You two feel discriminated against because a crew member didn't upgrade your attitude. Happens every day. Maya's jaw clenched. That isn't what happened, and you know it. Carradine leaned back, hands behind his head. Look, I get it. You're upset. You feel wronged. But Vanessa is one of my best attendants. Her evaluations speak for themselves. Jordan slid a printed chat transcript onto the table. Carradine reached for it slowly, almost lazily, until his eyes caught the highlighted lines. Loud eyes, toned passengers, vibe doesn't match premium. His face froze for a fraction of a second before he forced another smirk. Crew humor, he said, waving the paper. Inside jokes. Meaningless. Meaningless until someone gets removed from a flight, Maya countered. Meaningless until people suffer humiliating consequences? Carradine shrugged. Passengers overreact, especially the ones sensitive to these issues. Jordan's eyes sharpened. Are you implying passengers of color are oversensitive? Don't twist my words, Inspector. This time, Maya didn't blink. She leaned forward, voice soft but steely. We interviewed a trainee. She confirmed Vanessa's behavior. She confirmed intimidation. She confirmed fear. Carradine's nostrils flared. A trainee? An intern? You're taking the word of some timid little... Jordan stepped toward the table, very slowly, very deliberately. We also have footage. Carradine stiffened. Jordan tapped his tablet. A paused frame of Vanessa confronting them in the priority line filled the screen. You lied, Jordan said. No raised voices, no confrontation, no refusal to comply. Everything in your crew's report contradicts the footage. Carradine swallowed. Just once, but the mask remained. Then he switched tactics. Let me be clear, Carradine said, steepling his fingers. This audit ends here. If you push this further, it will create problems for everyone involved, including your own department. There are political realities to consider. He said political, in the way people say, don't make trouble. Maya closed her folder calmly. For you, perhaps, Jordan added, but not for us. A long, brittle silence crept into the room. Carradine leaned in, lowering his voice to a sharp whisper. You really think people in my position will let you tear down a loyal crew member because your feelings got hurt? Jordan held his gaze. No, he said softly. We're not tearing her down. Maya finished. We're revealing the system that built her. Anger flared beneath Carradine's carefully rehearsed facade. You're making a mistake. Jordan reached into the folder and slid a final document across the table. Here's the mistake, he said. Vanessa didn't just falsify our report. She falsified 12 in the past 18 months, and all against passengers who matched a racial demographic she targets. Maya placed a hand over her tablet. And you signed off on every single one. Carradine's face drained of color. Maya spoke softly, purposefully. Sometimes, Mr. Carradine, the truth isn't loud. It's patient. She opened her notebook to a small, handwritten verse. Be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord. 1 Corinthians 15:58. Carradine's eyes flicked to it, confused, almost rattled. Maya continued, voice steady as stone. We don't quit. We don't back down. We don't yield to intimidation. Jordan stepped forward. Effective immediately, we're requesting all personnel files, all complaints Vanessa Lorne handled, all internal chat logs, all reassignment records, all customer removals flagged behavioral, All supervisor approvals, including yours. Carradine's smirk finally cracked. You don't have the authority, Jordan raised his badge. Under FAA Regulation 49 CFR Paragraph 13.19, I do. Carradine's mouth snapped shut. Jordan continued. We'll also notify federal oversight that a pattern of discriminatory enforcement may be present in your region. Maya added gently, this is your opportunity to cooperate. It won't come twice. Carradine stared between them, a cornered animal behind expensive fabric. You're going to ruin us, he whispered. Jordan shook his head. No, your system already ruined itself. We're just turning on the lights. When Jordan and Maya walked out of the conference room, the tension in the hallway was palpable. Employees glanced at them and quickly looked away, as if afraid to be seen standing too close to truth. But the couple felt something different now. Not exhaustion, not humiliation, not rage, purpose, solid, heavy, unshakable. Maya leaned close, her voice barely above a breath. Jordan, we're in the storm now. He nodded. And storms are where truth learns to fly. If you've ever faced a system built to silence you, then what happens next with Jordan and Maya will feel like justice rising from the ground up. Don't forget to like and subscribe and stay with Dignity Voices as the audit gains unstoppable momentum. What happens when the system fights back harder, and Jordan and Maya uncover discrimination baked into the airline's very policies? The regional operations building felt different the next day. Not quieter, not louder, just watchful. As Jordan and Maya entered through the security doors, heads turned subtly, conversations paused mid-sentence, supervisors retreated into their offices. Word had spread. The inspectors weren't here for a routine check. They were here to dig up bones the airline buried years ago. Jordan stopped briefly at the elevator, glancing at his reflection in the brushed metal panels. He saw a version of himself he hadn't met in years, not the calm, measured professional he always tried to be, but something sharper. Purpose distilled into patience, fire contained in discipline. Maya stood beside him, her tablet tucked under one arm, her expression steady. Ready? Jordan nodded. We're past ready. The elevator dinged. The doors opened. Inside the compliance floor, cubicles stretched in rows like an administrative battlefield. The soft hum of fluorescent lights made the air feel sterile, but beneath the surface, tension pulsed like electricity. They approached compliance analyst Ben Torres, a mid-level employee with a reputation for just doing his job. He sat stiffly at his desk when they arrived. Jordan introduced himself. Mr. Torres, we need access to archived behavioral risk coding. Ben blinked. The risk matrix? That's restricted even for internal supervisors. Maya smiled politely. Which is why you're giving it to us. Ben hesitated, glancing at his manager's office. Jordan pushed a document across the desk, a formal FAA authorization letter. Ben's face paled. Oh, you're those inspectors. Maya folded her arms. Yes, the ones your crew tried to humiliate, then lied about. Ben swallowed. Okay, I'll open the database. He logged in, typing hesitantly, as if afraid the system might bite him. Screens flashed. Menus opened. A folder appeared. Behavioral Risk Assessment, Internal Use. Jordan nodded. Open it. Ben clicked. Rows of data scroll across the screen. Names, flight numbers, incident tags, behavioral flags, coded categories. Maya leaned forward. Can you filter by customer tone risk? Ben clicked the drop-down. The system filtered. A list of hundreds of passengers appeared, but the pattern was immediate, obvious, sickening. Maya whispered, Jordan, look at the racial indicators. Jordan studied the data. Over 80% of flagged passengers shared a single pattern: Black, Latino, Middle Eastern, Southeast Asian. Maya scrolled. This isn't random. This is systemic targeting disguised as risk coding. Ben looked uneasy. I don't choose the categories. The The system generates them based on training inputs. Whose inputs? Jordan asked. Ben hesitated, then pointed toward a glass-walled office at the end of the hall. Director of Passenger Safety Algorithms. Lionel Graves's Maya's eyebrows shot up. The algorithm designer? Ben nodded timidly. He's the one who created the risk matrix. The categories, the trigger words, the definitions. All of it. Jordan straightened. Let's talk to him. Inside the office, Lionel Graves, early 40s, slicked back hair and a nervous smile tapped away at his laptop. He looked up as Jordan and Maya entered. You must be the FAA inspectors, he said with a friendly but overly rehearsed voice. What a surprise! How can I help? Maya didn't waste time. Your risk assessment algorithm disproportionately flags passengers of color. Lionel's fingers froze above his keyboard. That's quite a claim. Jordan stepped closer. We have the data. The patterns are unmistakable. Lionel's smile faltered. The algorithm is neutral. It evaluates behavioral indicators, facial cues, vocal stress, physical posture, response patterns, purely statistical. Maya folded her arms. Statistical bias is still bias. Your inputs determine the output. You normalized certain behaviors as risk, but only when performed by certain demographics. Lionel cleared his throat. All I did was translate documented crew feedback into algorithmic parameters. Jordan's eyes narrowed. Crew feedback, as in Vanessa Lorne's feedback, and others like her? Lionel's silence was answer enough. Maya opened her tablet. We have internal chat logs showing discriminatory language used to describe passengers. You use those same terms to build your risk categories. Lionel's face flushed red. I didn't know. I didn't mean... Jordan raised a hand. Intent isn't the issue. Impact is. Lionel's voice cracked. Look, you need to understand. Management wanted something that reduced complaints. So I coded the algorithm to match how certain crew members described discomfort. I didn't think... Maya's voice softened slightly. You didn't think it would target real people. Lionel nodded miserably. Jordan exhaled. Mr. Graves, whether you meant to or not, your system has been weaponized, and now the FAA needs a full breakdown of every data set you used. Lionel slumped in his chair. Maya added, and we need your cooperation, because the airline will fight us harder now. Lionel swallowed, then nodded slowly. I'll help. As Jordan and Maya left the office, a sharp voice pierced the hallway. Inspectors Ellis! Carradine strode toward them, face flushed, fury breaking through the smooth corporate veneer. His voice echoed through the compliance floor. You think you can waltz in here and tear apart everything we've built? Jordan stepped sideways, shielding Maya slightly. This isn't about tearing down, Jordan said calmly. It's about accountability. Carradine jabbed a finger in the air. You're overstepping. This stops now. Maya shook her head. We're not stopping, not when the system is this broken. Carradine looked around, realizing employees were watching, from cubicles, from door frames, from shadows. He lowered his voice to a venomous hiss. You don't understand what you're doing. You're going to destroy careers. Jordan's voice dropped even lower. Careers built on discrimination should be destroyed. Carradine faltered, just for a second, before regaining his sneer. This investigation ends today. Maya stepped forward, her voice calm but unshakably stern. No, she said. This is where it truly begins. And then, before Carradine could speak, Jordan added words so soft yet so devastating they silenced the room. Justice doesn't bow to those who fear it. Carradine's face turned the color of a bruised plum. Back in the hallway, Maya stopped, leaning against the wall, heart pounding. Jordan, this is getting dangerous. He took her hand. Maya, danger doesn't change our course. It clarifies it. Her breath steadied. He squeezed her fingers, whispering, We didn't choose this fight. It found us. And we're gonna finish it. Maya nodded, her eyes filled not with fear, but with fierce determination. The conference center ballroom felt less like a room and more like a verdict waiting to be spoken. Rows of chairs faced a raised platform where a long table stood under hot white lights. Name placards marked the seats: FAA Oversight Panel, Skyreach Airlines Executive Council, union representatives, and public observers. Behind them, cameras from news networks and aviation watchdog channels waited, red lights blinking like unblinking eyes. Jordan adjusted his tie. Maya smoothed the front of her blazer. They stood just off stage, the murmur of voices rolling over them like distant thunder. Maya whispered, "This is it." Jordan nodded. "This is where everything they thought they could hide walks into the light." At the far end of the platform sat Regional Manager Brent Carradine, shoulders tense, jaw clenched, flanked by the airline's legal counsel and a senior VP with a strained corporate smile. Beside them sat Vanessa Lorne, polished uniform pressed sharp, makeup immaculate. But her eyes, for the first time, betrayed something new. Fear. A voice over the PA system cut through the noise. "Ladies and gentlemen, the FAA Oversight Summit on Passenger Safety and Discrimination will now come to order. We ask everyone to take their seats." The room shifted. The murmur died. Jordan felt Maya's fingers brush his. They shared one look, years of love, pain, faith, and purpose condensed into a silent vow. Then they walked onto the stage. An FAA moderator introduced them, presenting findings from a special audit into Skyreach Airlines behavioral enforcement practices. Senior Inspector Jordan Ellis and Regulatory Data Analyst Maya Ellis. Jordan stepped up to the podium. Microphones waited like a cluster of staring eyes. He began not with anger, but with control. "Yesterday," he said, voice steady, "my wife and I were publicly humiliated, downgraded, and falsely reported as aggressive passengers while attempting to board a first-class flight we had lawfully purchased." The crowd shifted. Some nodded, recognizing the viral story already circulating online. We were not shouting. We were not non-compliant. We were not a safety threat. We were a young black couple standing in a priority lane some people decided we did not belong in. Vanessa's shoulders tightened. Jordan continued, "Most of you know that part of the story. What you do not know is that my wife and I are not just passengers." He reached into his jacket, lifted his badge. "We are FAA inspectors." A ripple moved through the room. "And because of that," he said, "when we were escorted away, our humiliation did not end the story. It began an investigation." He stepped aside. Maya walked forward, tablet in hand, connecting it to the large display behind them. "Let's talk about the pattern," she said. The screen lit up with charts and graphs, lines of data, percentages, time-stamped logs. Maya's voice was calm, precise, like a surgeon making the first incision. "Over the last 3 years, Skyreach Airlines has filed hundreds of behavioral risk incidents. On paper, that seems like simple safety enforcement. But we broke down the numbers." A bar graph appeared. In cases filed by lead attendant Vanessa Lorne, over 85% of passengers flagged as non-compliant or aggressive were people of color. On routes with highly diverse passenger lists, that number was even higher. She clicked. The next slide showed anonymized faces and initials, passengers removed from flights, downgraded, or delayed. "These cases rarely resulted in formal complaints," Maya continued, "because the passengers believed the paperwork over their own experience. They were told they were the problem. They were told to be grateful they weren't banned." She changed the slide again. Now, internal chat logs appeared, names hidden, but roles and timestamps visible. On screen, "First class is a vibe. Some folks just don't match it. Got another tone passenger today. Loud eyes. You know the type." The room reacted. Gasps, mutters, disgusted whispers. Maya's voice did not waver. This language became training data. Training data became algorithmic input. Algorithmic input became a risk matrix that disproportionately targeted Black, Latino, and other minority passengers. On cue, the chart shifted to a visual breakdown of algorithm flags by race and ethnicity. "This is not neutral," she said. "This is discrimination disguised as security." The FAA panel chair leaned toward his microphone. "Mr. Carradine, would you like to respond?" Carradine cleared his throat, tugging at his tie. "The airline's priority has always been passenger safety. Any perceived bias is unintentional and—" Jordan cut in, his tone cold but controlled. "Unintentional bias does not produce deliberate chat logs, falsified reports, and systematically skewed data." The panel chair nodded. "Inspector Ellis, please proceed." Jordan advanced the video. On screen, the room watched the boarding scene from the in-cabin security camera. Vanessa striding toward them, her mocking laugh, her exaggerated doubts, her coded accusations. Jordan and Maya, calm, still, compliant. No raised voices, no disruptive behavior. The camera caught everything. When the clip ended, the silence in the hall pressed like a physical weight. The chair turned back to the airline side. "Ms. Lorne, how do you reconcile this footage with your written statement, describing the passengers as escalating, defiant, and verbally aggressive?" Vanessa's hands shook slightly. She reached for the microphone. "I felt unsafe," she said, voice thin. "My perception—" "Your perception," Maya interrupted gently but firmly, "does not override documented truth or human dignity." The senior VP tried to jump in. "We take these concerns seriously." Maya pressed another slide. "Complaints from internal crew, testimony from trainee Elena Park, anonymized but summarized. Intimidation, retaliation, fear." Jordan spoke into the microphone, voice now carrying a deeper power. A quiet storm. "This is not about one rude employee. This is about a culture that rewarded her, a system that armed her prejudice with codes, paperwork, and algorithms." As the panel conferred briefly, Maya looked out over the crowd, faces tired, angry, hopeful, suspicious. A lifetime of injustice sat in that room. There, in the front row, she noticed an older Black flight attendant in uniform, silver hair pulled back, eyes glistening. The woman watched them with a kind of reverent sadness. The chair invited closing words. The older attendant unexpectedly stood, clearing her throat. "May I say something?" After a brief pause, the chair nodded. She stepped to a side microphone, voice trembling yet strong. "I've worked in these cabins for 30 years. I've watched passengers like me, like them." She gestured toward Jordan and Maya. "Be treated as less than. I buried my anger so I could keep my job." She nodded toward the couple. "Today, I watched two of my children in the spirit stand up, not just for themselves, but for all of us who've had to smile through disrespect." Her voice grew clearer. "And I'm reminded of this. In all these things, we are more than conquerors through Him who loved us." Romans 8:37. That means our victory is not just getting an apology. It's changing what happens to the next person who walks into first class with skin like ours. The room fell utterly silent. Tears slid down Maya's cheeks. Jordan swallowed hard. This wasn't just regulation anymore. It was redemption. The FAA chair spoke, voice firm. "Effective immediately, we are recommending suspension and review of Ms. Lorne's certification, formal disciplinary investigation into regional management practices, mandatory retraining and external bias auditing for all Skyreach crew, a full independent review of the behavioral risk algorithm and its removal pending redesign, public acknowledgement of wrongdoing toward affected passengers, including Mr. and Mrs. Ellis." Murmurs exploded around the room. Cameras zoomed in. Executives whispered frantically with their lawyers. Carradine looked as if someone had cut the strings that kept him upright. But Jordan and Maya? They stood taller. Not gloating, not vengeful. Just free. The next morning, Airport felt different. Not because anything had changed in its walls. Screens still flickered with departures. Carts still beeped through the terminal. Families still lugged suitcases and sleepy children behind them. It felt different because Jordan and Maya had changed. They walked through the terminal not as victims of humiliation, not as passengers trying to prove they belonged, but as people who had turned an entire system toward truth. When they reached the first-class lane, a young gate agent smiled warmly and checked their tickets with no hesitation. "Welcome aboard, Mr. and Mrs. Ellis," she said softly. "And thank you. My mom works for another airline. She told me what you did yesterday. We needed people like you." Maya smiled back, touched. We needed people like her, too. Jordan nodded respectfully, then took Maya's hand as they stepped aboard. Stepping into first class felt surreal, not because of the leather seats or wide aisles, but because they walked into that space on their own terms. This time, there were no mocking voices, no stares of suspicion, no coded words, just quiet acknowledgement. A flight attendant, not Vanessa, not anyone from the hostile crew, approached with a gentle expression. "If you need anything at all," she said, "please let me know. And..." Her voice trembled. "I'm sorry for what my profession allowed to happen to you." Maya placed a hand over the woman's. "What matters is what happens next." Jordan glanced out the window as the aircraft prepared for pushback. Sunlight broke through the clouds, casting gentle gold across the wings. For a moment he closed his eyes. Not in exhaustion, in gratitude. As the plane lifted from the runway, Maya leaned her head on Jordan's shoulder. "Feels different, doesn't it?" she whispered. Jordan nodded slowly. "Because now we know something." "What's that?" "That justice isn't a victory for just the people who win it. It becomes freedom for everyone who comes after." Maya smiled, eyes softening. "We didn't fight for seats, we fought for dignity." "And dignity doesn't expire," Jordan added. Their fingers intertwined. The aircraft climbed higher, and the weight of what they had endured finally lifted, like turbulence falling away into smooth sky. Halfway through the flight, the older black flight attendant from the summit approached them, still in uniform, still carrying grace like a second skin. She placed a hand on Maya's shoulder. "Remember what I said yesterday?" she whispered. "You two are conquerors, not because you crushed anyone, but because you carried truth without letting bitterness own you." Maya's eyes glistened. The woman squeezed her gently and said the verse again. "In all these things, we are more than conquerors through him who loved us." Romans 8:37. Jordan felt the words settle deep in his spirit, not as triumph, as peace. "The attendant smiled. "Fly well, children." Then she walked away. The cabin fell quiet again, but the truth hovered like a warm blanket around them. They hadn't just changed an airline, they had changed themselves, and they had become instruments of something bigger than regulations, bigger than reports, bigger even than justice. They had become instruments of God's dignity in motion. As the aircraft sailed high above the clouds, Jordan looked down at the world below, small, distant, peaceful, a world full of people whose stories often remain unheard. He turned to Maya. "Do you think this will make a difference?" She smiled softly. "It already has, because the moment you stand for truth, someone else finds the courage to stand too. And in that space, God's word became more than comfort. It became instruction. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. Ensure justice for those being crushed." Proverbs 31:8. This story wasn't just about an airline crew or a gate humiliation. It was about what happens when ordinary people, armed with truth, endurance, and faith, refuse to bow their heads. Jordan and Maya didn't ask for a battle, but when the battle found them, they fought it with integrity, clarity, and love. And through them, dignity rose, not loud, not violent, but steady, like a sunrise no one can stop. If you have ever been overlooked, mistreated, or told you don't belong, Then Jordan and Maya's journey reminds us all that God sees, God knows, and God defends. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay with Dignity Voices for more stories of truth, justice, and faith. Your dignity matters, and your story deserves to be heard.